Hi, this is Doug Bradley, Pinhead from the Hellraiser movies, and you are listening to Without Your Head. And you'd better keep listening to Without Your Head, or you will not only be without your head, you will be without your soul, because I will tear it apart.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I am Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by the very talented, beautiful horror icon, Barbara Crampton. How are you doing today?
Great, Neil. Thanks for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you here. And we're going to talk about We're Still Here, which comes out on DVD October 6th. And not just because you're here, I've been saying this on the show, so you can go back and check to make sure I'm not lying. This is my favorite horror movie of the year so far.
No way, really?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
That's saying something. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. It was really great. And what I like about it is, honestly, sometimes I don't necessarily like haunted house movies because there's never like a payoff. And this combines, it's a great build and a great payoff.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think Ted did a really great job of creating a lot of mystery and pathos with, a great foundation of two characters who were depressed by the loss of their son. And then definitely, I agree with you, there is a bigger payoff in this movie than most haunted house movies. I mean, it definitely goes into, balls out gore and chaos at the end. So I think it's very exciting for all of us.
And I don't want to make it seem
Yeah.
like I just like it because of that, because I think the acting's great, the story's great, it's got a great build, but it also has the payoff, so it's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. And, in the beginning, it was interesting because there was a few scenes in the beginning of the movie, for anybody who's seen it or who's going to see it, that we added after they edited the movie, they went back and they, which frequently happens, you go back and you look at the movie and you say, what are we missing here? What could make this movie even better? And because there was so much horror sort of towards the end and a lot of gore and what we're talking about, they felt like there was a little bit of that missing from the beginning. So the scene in the beginning when I have the box of things that belong to Bobby in his past, and I come down the stairs and I'm looking through them, and then I hear some noises and I go downstairs and into the basement, and that's where we actually first see the charred ghosts of the Dagmar family. And we added those in, or they added those in afterwards, because they just felt like they wanted to give people a little hint and a little horror of, what was coming, what was to come. So we got a little more chills in the beginning of the movie, which originally wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned the charred bodies, I don't know if you call them ghosts or demons, and some things in the movie aren't, maybe you don't know the answers to. I personally like that. And do you like that about movies where it's not necessarily everything's spelled out and you can kind of come to your own conclusions, how things happen or what things mean?
Well, the funny thing is, I think even when things are really spelled out for people, everybody has a differing view of what they think things mean anyway. I mean, look at the politics in our country. Look at, abortion and gay marriage. People have extremely different views on extremely exacting circumstances. So I think it doesn't, I think that is, for the filmmaker to decide. Ted wanted to make a movie that had some questions in it, and he said that from the very beginning, that he didn't mind that there were some things that perhaps we weren't sure of or didn't know, because he felt like, life is like that. And this is definitely, a haunted house movie and has some things that happened in the past, and everybody's going to have their differing views on it, whether, it's spelled out or it's not. But he wanted to leave that a little bit fluid in the imagination of the viewer. And I think he does answer some questions that people might have while watching it at the end credits, it talks about, there's some newspaper clippings and the credits are rolled over those, and it talks about things that happened in the town and the people and the livestock and whatnot. So you have to pay close attention to that as well.
Yeah, there really is so much in the movie, so much story, so much information, and it really goes by really fast. When I watched it the first time, it almost seemed like it was like an hour, and not.
Yeah.
And I think it's like there's like a great energy in the movie that just really just flies right by. Could you feel that like when you're filming it kind of had like an energy to it?
Well, every movie that you work on, I think, has its own energy or its own feel. I felt working on this movie pretty much like I was working with friends. I mean, it was a very easy and relaxed set to work on, and that sounds kind of funny since you're doing a horror movie and there's a lot of, screaming and running around and fear involved, and a lot of, I certainly had a lot of emotional tension that I had to keep at the forefront of my performance at all times. But I had known Ted as a publicist. He worked on You're Next, and we became quite friendly over the next couple of years. So I felt really close to him as a friend when we started working together. And I didn't know Travis, our producer, Travis Stevens, but he was a completely, hands-on producer there at every moment, at every turn. And he was just such a lovely guy to have around, and so smart about the horror genre, and just completely have utmost respect for him and his choices and his talent. And then we had our DP, Kareem Hussein, who's just, puts beautiful pictures before our eyes. I just think he's amazing. So those three guys really set the tone for the movie, and we all felt really comfortable and at ease. And the actors were lovely to work with, of course. Melissa Dowling and Andrew Sensening and Larry Fessenden, who I just have come to adore. I didn't know him before I met him on this movie, and it was just kind of natural and easy and fun. We had a lot of fun. It was freezing cold when we were filming the movie. That was the other aspect of it. And it was in a very small town in upstate New York, but the warmth of all the players kept us going.
Mm-hmm. Was that filmed in like an actual house, someone's house?
Mm-hmm. Yes, it was. It was filmed in a house, and I think, they had been location scouting for a while when the weather was good, and they met a pastor at a church. I think Travis had known him before because he had shot a movie up there at another time, and they knew him sort of a little bit, and so they asked him if he knew of anybody that had like a big old house or whatever, and they visited a few, and then they found this particular house and loved it. And there was a family that had been living there for a couple of years, and the house is kind of in disrepair, and they were going to, refurbish it. And so our people came in, Marcella Brennan, who's our, who did all, everything having to do with the production design, said, don't do anything. Just let me come in, and she built some actual walls in the house to make it look like wood paneling, and brought some rugs in. They basically took all of their furniture out and put all the furniture that we used back in. And it was a very big, rambling kind of house, and it had an eeriness to it, and it was very cold in there, and it wasn't like a comfortable feeling house because it was very cold. So I think it was, in itself another character for a movie. Of course, I think when you do have a haunted house movie, you have to feel like your house has its own personality, and that house certainly did. Mm-hmm. And I think they created a wonderful world for us to work in.
Yeah. As an actor, does that help you? Do you think that helped your performance? Help you get into the role if you're actually in a place where you feel that it's like eerie?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it your clothing helps, and your environment certainly. The other actors. I cut my hair specifically for this role very short because I wanted her to feel extremely vulnerable. And so all of those things can aid you in just feeling like, in the place, in the moment with the material. You prepare for a role. I read the script many times over, and I, learn my lines and study my part and write down ideas on pieces of paper. And I actually interviewed 2 different women who had lost children in auto accidents, as my character did. And all of those things inform you. And then in the moment, you just have to drop everything that you've thought about or tried to work on or tried to become. And then you're in a space and you're with other actors, and you have to just pretend that, this is your life right now and this is what you're living. So definitely the space is of utmost importance. I mean, we don't act against, green screens and in these haunted house movies. We're in the environment. So absolutely it helps. The lighting helps and just the place and everything. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I saw a video interview with you. I think it was at Fear Fest. I might have the name wrong in England. And you mentioned that
mm-hmm.
that Ted wrote the role for you. What was it?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was about the character specifically, or about you, that he thought you'd be perfect for the role?
I actually don't really know. That's a really good question and kind of an obvious question, but I'm not sure exactly what that answer is. You'd have to ask him. Yeah. But the funny thing is, when he first sent the script to me, he said, I wrote this movie and I just kind of want to get your take on it. And because we were friends, I read it to give him my ideas or my thoughts on it. And I thought it was a wonderful movie and really well written. And as I stated earlier, just a haunted house movie that's also grounded in, a problem and a foundation of 2 strong characters initially. I thought that was really compelling. But he didn't tell me at first that he had written the role of Anne for me. He didn't tell me that until after he had an inkling that he had a producer interested and had some money, potentially very close. And, when I read it, I did feel, wow, I could play this part, but I didn't really mention that to him because he didn't say it to me initially. But I think probably, she's a mom and I'm a mom, and I've definitely been in situations in my career where there's been horrible things happen to me. Mm-hmm. And, I've done a lot of, screaming and being fearful. So maybe it was a good mashup of those 2 elements. And I had just played a mom in Your Next a couple years before that. So it's nice to, play a character that I feel has, some resonance to myself. I mean, that's what good casting is, I guess. So, maybe, there's some ways that I spoke that, he had me, kind of speak to my husband. He just, he did say he really wanted us to be a loving couple, and didn't. Typically when people have, something horrible happen to a child, it's very common for them to really be at odds with one another. But he wanted there to still be some love between us, even though it was, maybe hard to feel or hard to see at different times. But potentially maybe that's also why he thought, that might be a good character for me to play. I don't know.
Yeah, when you're talking there...
I'm guessing, I guess.
It's also what part of that I really like about the movie is there's a lot of great veteran actors in the movie, or older actors. Yeah. And it's not not just like teenagers or 20-year-olds. Mm-hmm. And it's also right. There's like real life stuff in the movie. It's not just a slasher horror movie. There's like you're saying there,
right? Slasher. Mm-hmm.
Now, do you think the last?
Yeah, I think there's some depth.
Do you think the last few years that there are more roles for I hate to say older actors, but for veteran actors?
I think it sort of comes and goes a little bit. There's different sort of subgenres that get to be a little bit more at the forefront every maybe 8 years or so. And there was a time period, I think, when it was more fashionable to have younger actors, and I think that's still something that is very close to what Hollywood tries to do. You make more money from younger people going to the movies because more younger people spend money going to the movies. So, do you want to see movies about characters that are in your own life that you feel close to? So I think that was very much in fashion, and I think it feels to me recently that we do have some older characters at the forefront, which I think is wonderful for actors and also wonderful for viewers to see older characters and the goings on of some older people. And why would you just want to go to the movies and just watch yourself over and over again in different situations? And I think I'm happy to be part of that. And lately, I've gotten some wonderful roles that are very strong women in this movie, and also in a movie I just did called Sunchoke, which most of you haven't seen, but hopefully is going to be coming out very soon. That's on the festival circuit, and it's nice when there are stronger roles for older people. And we had a veteran actor on. We were still here, Monty Markham, who's I think maybe done 100 and over 100 titles to his name. And I mean, just working with him and being in the presence of him was just astonishing. He was just such a weighty actor, and just had so much life to him. Even though he's older, I mean, just the robustness and there's a certain fullness that an actor has when they feel really confident about themselves and all the roles that they've played. It's just there's a buildup of that, and so working with somebody who is an older person is just it's very exciting, and it was really exciting to work in some scenes with him. It was just. He's a stellar actor, so we were so lucky to get him, and he just nailed that character. It was wonderful.
That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. He's so great in it because he has such a great voice where it's almost kind of makes you feel he's like kind of seems pleasant and like you'd be safe around him, which totally works perfectly into what he does in the movie.
True. Yeah, he was just fantastic. Yeah.
Now, what's the reaction been like on the festival circuit?
Yeah, great. I just think people are really. It's so. I guess it's surprising, but it's you just never know. Even when you see a movie that you've done, I saw the movie really just weeks before it premiered at South by Southwest, and I mean I liked it, but you just don't know because you're just too close to it. And so we premiered at South by Southwest, and the crowd went crazy for it. And they were so appreciative. And the reviews that we got out of our premiere there were just even better than we could have hoped for. And subsequently, all the different places we go to, we've played at the Stanley Film Festival and Fantasia and Fright Fest, and it's played, I think it's going to be playing in Belgium at Razor Reel, and just other places that Ted's going to in Japan, and it's playing at Styges, and these are places I'm not going, Morbido, and in Mexico. Just, we've just been getting amazing reviews, and I think it's wonderful for Ted too, because this is his first film, and to have, even though he's written other movies that have gotten produced, this is the first movie that he's ever directed, and to get this kind of response for him being a first-time director is nothing short of thrilling for all of us, really.
Mm-hmm. Now, are you a horror movie watcher when you're not in horror movies?
I am, but I think I've become more of a horror movie watcher just recently. To be honest with you, as an actor, I've been an actor all my life, really. Just started acting when I was 11 in school plays, and then went to school for theater and did theater in New York, and moved to Los Angeles, and then did a bunch of soap operas as a regular character for many years, on and off, and then started working in horror movies. And then I would do a movie of the week, or then I would do a commercial, then I would go back to a soap opera. And I liked all genres of movies, but I wasn't your voracious fan like many of your listeners are, probably until just recently with I guess I come back to horror just working in when I came back and worked on Your Next. I had taken a break from acting and actually didn't know if I was going to be working anymore, because I moved up to San Francisco from LA with my husband, and I had 2 children, and I was really focused on them and their lives, and making sure our home life was happy, and wasn't thinking about acting at all. And then Your Next was offered to me out of the blue, and I took it sort of as a lark, for something fun and adventurous to do. And after I did that movie and met all the wonderful people that I worked with, I suddenly, with like your show that we're talking on right now, and a lot of social media sites, I felt like I was part of a community that I didn't know I belonged to. And so since coming back, I've actually been trying to catch up on horror movies that maybe I've missed over the past few years. So I feel like I'm a fan now over the past maybe 4 or 5 years than I ever have been.
I do have to ask you something before I let you go. I'm in New England, and there's a local beer, Narragansett beer, and they just announced, I think it was just a couple days ago, on the 10th that comes out, is they're putting out a Re-Animator beer, and I don't know if you've heard of this.
What?
Yeah, there's a limited edition Re-Animator. Yeah, in Rhode Island.
Is it for Halloween?
They've been doing a Lovecraft series of beers here. I forget last one was I forget the last. Innsmouth Ale was the last one, but the one for this month, I guess it is for Halloween because it comes out October 10th. Is the Re-Animator beer?
Yeah.
And so I'd ask you.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So I don't know if you'll be able to get it.
I'd love to partake and have some of that, but I'm gluten free. If they make it in gluten-free version, I'll have some of it.
All right, I'll have to check.
I'll drink to that.
All right, I'll have to check the website. I'm not positive, but we'll be drinking it on the show. But let everybody know.
Awesome.
Yeah, We're Still Here comes out October 6th on DVD and Blu-ray, and it really is great. I love the movie, and I hope everyone checks it out. Is there anything you'd like to tell your fans before we let you go?
Well, today's the first day of October, and I know this isn't airing probably until another few days or a week or so, but I just want to wish everybody a happy and healthy Halloween.
Excellent. All right, do you dress up for Halloween?
Every year, yes.
Thanks for coming on. It's been great to talk to you.
You too. Thanks a lot, Neil.
This is Michael Steves, Director of Klinger, and you're listening to Without Your Head.